We'll make sure, and I know that the city will make sure from a traffic standpoint that we have traffic mitigation being handled by the Revere Police Department and the State Police Department, whoever's jurisdiction it may be, to make sure if details need to be provided, then they will be. Outside of that, I'm ready to vote on this. Okay, Madam Clerk? Would you care? Please read the conditions. Thank you.
These were the conditions submitted by site plan review in addition to the conditions discussed by the zoning subcommittee. 1, the revised site plan dated May 17th, 2022, prepared by DePrate Engineering, shall be updated to reflect the conditions of the special permit. Further, the site plan shall be subject to additional revisions by the site plan review committee. These additional revisions and conditions shall be incorporated into and made part of the final site plan and special permit. The final site plan shall be recorded in the Suffolk County Registry of Deeds along with the special permit. A recorded copy of the special permit and a final site plan review letter shall be filed with the building inspector prior to the issuance of a building permit. 2, there shall be no access or egress allowed from the site onto Sigourney Street or Derby Road. 3, the special permit is contingent upon applicant receiving relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals with respect to any dimensional and/or parking requirements that may be required upon completion of the final site plan. 4, the final landscaping plan shall be approved by the Site Plan Review Committee, including the planting of an evergreen screen, minimum 6 feet high, arborvitaes or pine trees along all residential property lines, and the planting of trees, minimum caliper of 2.5 inches, along the frontage of the property on Derby Road and Sigourney Street. Further, a yearly landscape maintenance plan shall be submitted to site plan review that includes proper irrigation of all landscaped areas and the replacement of any dead trees or shrubs, fertilizing, mulching, grass cutting, and weed control. 5, permit holder shall erect an 8-foot stockade fence along the frontage of Derby Road and Sigourney Street, as well as the rear property line abutting residential use. 6, any signage within the site shall be approved by the Site Plan Review Committee and shall conform to the city's sign requirements. 7, Revere Dev LLC shall implement a neighborhood trash mitigation policy which shall not only describe the policy for the special permit holder to collect and adequately dispose of all garbage and loose trash visible on the 304 Squire Road property, but shall additionally describe a trash mitigation employee policy for the 100 block of Derby Road to the intersection of Grover Street, whereby Popeye's employees shall monitor the 100 block of Derby Road to the intersection of Grover Street and remove visible, loose trash with Popeye's trademarks or branding from the 100 block of Derby Road twice daily. 8, Revere Dev LLC shall not impede and will support efforts made by surrounding neighbors to modify the direction of travel for Derby Road in the event the community wishes to reverse direction of traffic to direct Derby Road traffic towards Squire Road. 9, Revere Dev LLC shall limit operating hours for the drive-up window drive-through to Sunday to Thursday 10:30 a.m. through 10 p.m. and Friday to Saturday 10:30 a.m. through 10:30 p.m. 10, applicant shall install, keep, and properly maintain a code-compliant odor and noise-reducing hood ventilation system as approved by the Board of Health. 11, the dumpster shall be set back a minimum of 10 feet from all property lines abutting residential uses and shall be screened per the requirements of Site Plan Review Committee, including privacy fencing and/or cement block wall rodent prevention methods and the planting of evergreens. 12, all lighting on the site shall be oriented away from neighboring residential properties and shielded from producing glare onto abutting residential properties. 13, the final building plans must be submitted to the fire department for approval in compliance with fire safety codes. 14, sewer, water, and storm water management plans must be reviewed and approved by the city engineer and chief of infrastructure. 15, the final building plans must be submitted to the Board of Health for approval in compliance with Massachusetts Department of Public Health regulations. 16, the installation of an exterior grease trap to be approved by the plumbing inspector and a maintenance schedule for regular cleaning of the grease trap. 17, new concrete sidewalks with granite curbing shall be installed along the full frontage of the property on Derby Road and Squire Road. 18, a street and sidewalk bond must be filed with the DPW to secure performance of any sidewalk, roadway, and driveway reconstruction and the installation of any utilities serving the site as well as landscaping. 19, one parking spot shall be dedicated for vehicles of delivery service pickup drivers. 20, the parking spaces and travel aisles shall be striped with pavement markings to define the parking spaces and traffic flow direction. 21, a final as-built plan and site plan, including as-built utilities, shall be filed with the building inspector, DPW, and engineering department prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit. 22, the project is subject to Section 17.47, the Community Improvement Trust Fund, as it is a use that is only allowed by special permit of the City Council. And 23, the special permit will be subject to any and all signage the Traffic Commission and the Massachusetts Department of Transportation deem appropriate and necessary for the regulation of traffic patterns at this location. That's it.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would you call the roll?
Roll call on the special permit subject to the findings and conditions of site plan review in the zoning subcommittee. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky is absent. Councilor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes. Council President Visconti?
Yes.
Yes. And Chairman Keefe?
Yes.
Yes, this has received a favorable recommendation to be forwarded to the full City Council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That's all the business we have for this evening, and we'll have our regular committee at 6 p.m. Thank you.
You want to shut that door? Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. Before we begin, what I'd like to do is go over some of the open meeting laws that we're going to abide by moving forward, where for video recording rules, as well as addressing the city council in the audience behavior, due to some of the behavior that happened at our last meeting. I think it's necessary. So moving forward, let's start off with the video recording. If anyone wishes to record today's meeting, what we will ask and what we will need for you to do is approach the podium, provide your name and address for the record. You'd have to indicate what you're using for a device, and then you will have, there are some reasonable requirements not to interfere with the meeting, okay? If you do not notify the chair that you are recording, then you shall not be able to record the meeting, and in doing so, if you refuse, you're going to be asked to leave. If you cannot move around the city council while recording at this, as this is a direct disruption of the city council proceedings. Video recording shall not occur at the podium, as this is also a direct disruption of the meeting. You shall only operate your recording device in a manner so as it is not to interfere with city council proceedings. And that being said, the notification serves as a clear warning. This is the warning, okay? If these rules are broken, you're just going to be asked to remove yourself because you're being disruptive, and you're going to be asked to withdraw from this meeting. And if you refuse, you'll be escorted by one of the police officers. That is for the recording, okay? In order to address the city council and the audience behavior, to address the city council, you will need to provide your name and address for the record. If the person refuses to provide their information, then they are not granted permission to address the city council. If the person attempts to speak without permission, then that is also a direct disruption of the proceedings, and you will be asked to leave. Request that the person withdraw the meeting. If the conduct of the audience, all persons shall remain silent. If persons or people refuse to be silent, then that is also a direct disruption of the proceedings, and you will be asked to leave. With that being said, if there is anyone who wishes to record, now is the time to come up and speak and put your name and state your name and address for the record.
Dee Barrasso, Bremen Street, East Boston, AKA Stiletto. I feel like I'm in communist China, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi,
And
Laurie
yes,
Schittopoulos.
I'm sorry, before I continue, I'm sorry. There are designated seats for the recording, which are the last two in each row. That is where you will be recording, not from another seat. Those are the designated seats. If you are recording from somewhere else, I will ask you to leave. Simple as that. So go ahead.
With that, I have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wayne Rose, 19 Thorndike Street. I'll be recording
Okay.
from the seat over there.
No, the
Is-
seats are already.
Is this communist China? You going to tell us where we can sit
The
now?
seats are already designated. Mr. Rose, the seats are already designated.
This is not right. So we
Mr.
can't
Rose,
pick and choose
I'm
where
not
we
gonna
want to
start-
sit? I'm just asking you a
Don't-
question. It's a simple
The
question.
question is,
I
and
asked
I'm
a
going to
couple
answer the
questions
question.
before,
I'm going
and
to
you
answer the
refused
question.
to answer it.
I'm going to answer the question, and if that doesn't satisfy you, then you're not going to record. And if you are recording, I'm
So
going
you're
to
going to
ask
dictate
you
what
to
we
leave.
can see
No,
and
I'm
where
going
we
to
can
ask.
see it
I'm
from.
going to ask you
That's
to
what
sit.
you're going to do?
over there where it's designated to record.
This is a free country. We have a reason.
These are the
We should be
council
able to do
chambers.
this.
This is the council chambers rules.
So what? We're
That's-
sitting here in the public
Wayne,
chamber.
I'm sorry, but that's the
It's a
rules.
public chamber.
That is the rules. That's the
This
rules.
is ridiculous. You
That
guys
is the
should be
rules.
ashamed of yourselves.
Thank
Should
you.
be ashamed.
Anybody else willing to, that needs to record? That wants to record? Nobody else? Okay. There's seats over there readily available. All right. Thank you. Now, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Okay.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Cogliandro.
Here.
Here, Councilor Keefe.
Here.
Here, Councilor McKenna.
Here,
Here, Councilor Morabito.
Here.
Here, Councilor Novoselsky is absent. Councilor Rizzo.
Here.
Here, Councilor Rotundo, absent. Councilor Sereno.
Here.
Here, Councilor Silvestri.
Here.
Here, and Council President Visconti.
Here.
Here, quorum is present. Did you want to?
If my colleagues don't object, I'd like to suspend rules and take item number 12, if that's okay with everyone.
Communication from the city auditor requesting a free cash appropriation in the amount of $175,000 for the annual Sand Sculpting Festival.
Good evening, councilors. Rich Fiske, CFO, 281 Broadway. I am here before you requesting a free cash appropriation of $175,000 in order to help support the Sandcastle Festival this coming summer. It's pretty straightforward. It's been a vote that we've had at least the last 5 years. I've been excluding one for COVID, but otherwise this appropriation should be pretty familiar to everybody. But here to answer any questions if anyone has any. Thank you.
Any councilors? Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Mr. Viskey. You know, certainly, I think the beach partnership and the festival are great events for the city. I just, there was a couple appropriations, and I just wanted to touch base on this being one. And again, if we're in favor of doing it, I'm okay with that, but it jumped a bit from the last year. I think last year we did 125, which obviously is very gracious from the city, and again, it's a partnership. But is there escalated costs that we should know about, or that they're anticipating that it needs to go up to 175?
Yeah, in speaking with the mayor, I did ask the same question, assuming that there may be a question, and after conversations with the partnership, this was the amount that was requested in order for them. They're hoping to have the best Sandcastle Festival yet. This was the agreed amount that would help them get to that prerogative, and we supported, so we moved that to the council for appropriation. But as far as specific costs, I can't get into the details of that. But certainly, inflation and otherwise costs are going up. Everyone realized that. I'm sure that plays part of it as well. So wish I had more detail for you, but that's the answer I got.
Thank you. And I know from a security standpoint, that's been the largest rising cost that they've had. So if that's a justification, I fully understand. They've had to have the trucks block off both entry points, and also expanded police presence, which we certainly understand and think is a great idea. I was just assuming that what it would be, but
Yeah, I believe it was $150,000 several years back, and then we zeroed it out during COVID. And last year, we did appropriate $125,000, but the festival was more limited in nature. I assume we're trying to get back to a full activity schedule for this festival.
thank you.
Thank you. I think perhaps that part of the budgeting should be increased, and I would even probably say so for the fire. As this Sandcastle Festival increases, clearly the regard for our EMS is going to increase as well, seeing what's has happened over the past year and a half, 2 years on the beach when we have increased temperatures and, more importantly, an event. there is more need for spillage into the neighborhoods, particularly the Shirley Ave, as well as the Revere Street neighborhoods, and to some degree, actually into the Point of Pines. So perhaps we could increase that, speak to the chief, and see where they are on that. I understand they probably have gone over it, but just looking at what's happened over the past, year and a half, it's something to think better of.
Council, I do know that we have increased overtime money in the police department for special events, this being one of them. So this appropriation is to help the partnership run the event, but we're also thinking about the stuff you speak of as well through the operating budget.
And the other part is, I know the partnership as well as state police reach out to the cell companies in order to increase coverage. I know on many occasions when there's been an event and there's been an issue at the event, and it's hit the media, coverage has gone down in the sense of Wi-Fi and/or telephone coverage. So if there's something that can be done along those roads, I would hope that could be done.
Yeah, sure. I can't speak for the partnership, but we can certainly bring that back to our public safety officials.
Very well, thank you.
Okay. If there's no further questions, we'll take a roll call on this.
Shall the City Council approve an appropriation from free cash in the amount of $175,000 for the annual Sand Sculpting Festival? Councilor Cogliandro.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Morbido.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Novoselsky is absent. Councilor Rizzo.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Rotundo.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Sereno.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Silvestri.
Yes.
Yes, and Council President Visconti.
Yes.
Yes, the appropriation has been approved.
Thank you, Council.
Back to the regular order of business.
Back to the order of business.
I'm sorry, calendar item number 2, approval of the journal of the regular meeting of May 9th. Calendar item number 3 is the zoning subcommittee report.
Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, we had one item in front of us that was 22-128, Revere Dev LLC. This was discussed in a few zoning subcommittees, and ultimately, we came across and added in with site plan 23 special conditions that were agreed upon, and we voted favorably from the zoning subcommittee 4-0. Council Novoselsky was absent. Thank you.
Any questions? Hearing and seeing none, we got, do we have somebody? Okay. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is John Pedicini, 139 Sigourney Street. I'm a direct abutter to the project. I would like to ask Madam Clerk to record me as being in opposition to this plan. Due to the location of the dumpster, I feel I'm not being treated equally like other property owners.
Okay.
I think I'm singled out here, and I would hope I could work with the city to get a better location for that dumpster, specifically with Frank Stringy. That's my goal, but I cannot accept where it's located now on the plan.
That is noted on the record.
Mr. President?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, did he?
Mr. President,
everybody
could I have a minute recess, please?
No, if
Oh,
I could
you're
just,
in the middle. Okay, go ahead.
if I could just,
Go
is
ahead,
it okay, Mr. President?
Council Rizzo.
Just real quick, only because I'm not a member of the zoning subcommittee, but we have talked about this issue. And I just want to state for the record, I mean, I have a personal relationship with Mr. Pedicini and his family. They are wonderful people, business owners in the community. They are the prior owners of that property, so they have always been well invested in this community. I realize, John, that we have this problem with the dumpster, but in the aggregate, the overall project, I just feel to hold up the overall project, I think that's something we can work through as we go along with it. But I just didn't want to vote favorably for it, knowing that you're against it because of the dumpster issue. I promise you to work with you on this to see if there's something that we can do to make it happen. But to hold up the whole project over that one issue, I'm just not comfortable with. So I just wanted to make that clear for the record, Mr. President, because I know Mr. Pedicini has taken time out to be at virtually every single meeting. So I do want him to know that I will continue to work with him and Frank Stringy and whoever else in city government that we can to make sure that it has no adverse effect on your property that you still have here. Okay? Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Rizzo. Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Mr. Pedicini. He, if I'm correct, he was the seller of the project to the new owners. And
That is correct.
I think that would have been, in all due respect, sir, I just think that would have been a better time to bring up, holding up a project once you sell it to the new owner. In this is just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. We'll take a roll call. No further questions?
Shall the City Council grant the relief requested subject to the conditions of site plan review in the zoning subcommittee? Councilor Cogliandro?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky is absent. Councilor Rizzo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotundo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Visconti?
Yes.
Yes, the special permit has been granted. Next up is calendar item number 4, communication from the Election Commissioner relative to the special municipal election calendar in Ward 5.
I believe we have that information in our packet, and that's going to be placed on file, received and placed on file.
Calendar item number 5, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Jeffrey Perlman as city historian.
Okay. This is also going to be placed on file. An appointment confirmation is not needed, as this is not an official position, it's just an honorary title. Placed on file.
Calendar item number 6, communication from the mayor relative to an act establishing a new election system for the school committee of the city of Revere.
If there are any questions regarding this, we're gonna, if it's the will of the council, we. Name and address, please.
Wayne Rose, 19 Thorndike Street. Why, after all these years, are we going to do this to the school committee?
Okay.
I think the school committee works the way it should. I also, in my opinion, I think the school committee should be disbanded altogether instead of making it bigger. Thank you.
Point taken. What we can do is we can refer this, if it's the will of the council, to refer this to Legislative Affairs. Councilor Silvestri.
Yes, through you to Mr. Rose. I believe the reason this came about was we are one of the few cities in the state of Massachusetts that runs solely at large for the city council and other school committee, sorry. And the few other cities that have been doing the same procedure have had lawsuits filed against them that were successful. And the people that petitioned the lawsuits and filed actually notified the city that the lawsuit was coming to Revere unless we changed the ruling of our election procedures for a school committee. Thank you.
I believe
Mr. President?
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. Could we get a copy of that through you,
Yes.
Mr. President, to...
I believe there's 2 cities right now that have gone through a lawsuit.
Yeah, I'd like
and
to
have
see-
won. Have lost, I should say, that lawsuit.
I'm just looking to see if we can get the
Absolutely.
city solicitor to send us a document. Thank
Okay.
you.
It might have been attached. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? We can send it, sure.
Wayne Rose, 19 Thorndike Street. Have there been any cities that have gone through this and won their cases?
No.
So there's only been 2 so far.
I believe there's 2 that I am aware of.
Is that in the country?
What is it? Worcester and Lowell were the 2 cities that were sued and lost. So this is more of a preventative, and it's a change that's going to happen. And rather than be tied up in a lawsuit, and with prior history losing it, I think it's the move.
What will happen to the elected officials that are there now?
That can be worked out, you know, that what's going to happen is there's going to be.
So you don't know again?
There's ward counselors, okay, there's going to be ward school committee members, and I believe 2 at-large is what is,
But you didn't answer the question. What's
Yes.
going to happen to the school committee members that are there now?
they can run for their ward. And they
So
can
the whole
choose
thing's
to.
going to be disbanded
No.
and start
Through you,
over?
Mr. President,
Council Rotundo?
through you to Mr. Rose.
Yes.
I think, to be quite honest with you, until we get what Solicitor Capizzi has filed and why, we'll probably have to go through a charter change in order to make that happen. So you'll get your answers there,
Yeah.
number one. Number two, whatever was filed in federal district court will be noted there. So the information is going to be available to you.
So you have no answers right now? You
Probably
guys
not.
are looking to do it, but have no answers?
I would say
Again,
we
you
have
have no answers again.
No, we have no
Thank you.
information currently.
Thank you.
Mr. President, point of information.
Yes, state your point.
This was received by the council, just a quick lesson on legislative process. When a communication comes before the city council, it is read first, and then it is referred to a committee. So this will likely be going to legislative affairs.
Yes.
Once it goes to that committee, that's where discussion happens. We're not making any decisions by anything tonight. So this will go for discussion, and yes, those questions are valid, should be asked and answered before voting. So just a point that when something is on the agenda initially, it does get referred to a committee, and that's where the work really, that happens. And then it comes before the council.
So, point of information, and just to
State your point.
add on to what Councilor Serino said, if it does pass, it has to be approved through the House.
Yes. There's a process involved. This is just the beginning stages. It's going to go to legislative affairs. You can ask all your questions there, and we can have somebody from the city answer that for you. All right? Legislative affairs?
Calendar item number 7, communication from the mayor relative to an ordinance establishing inclusionary zoning in the city of Revere.
This is going to be ordered to a public hearing on June 27th.
Calendar item number 8, communication from the mayor relative to an amendment to the zoning ordinances of the city of Revere relative to the legalization of accessory dwelling units.
This is also going to be ordered to a public hearing for June 27th.
Calendar item number 9, communication from the city auditor relative to a loan order in the amount of $500,000 for MWRA infiltration and inflow removal projects.
This is ordered to a public hearing on June 6th.
Communication from the city auditor relative to a loan order in the amount of $1.2 million for Phase 4 investigations, CWSRF planning project number 7123.
Ordered to a public hearing for June 6th.
Calendar item number 11, communication from the city auditor relative to a loan order in the amount of $12 million for Phase 13 construction, CWSRF construction project number 7099.
Ordered to a public hearing June 6th.
Motions, calendar item number 13, motion presented by Council President Visconti and Councilor McKenna that the City Council order the attached zoning ordinance amendment to a public hearing, an ordinance further amending the zoning ordinances of the City of Revere relative to research and development facilities.
This is also going to be referred to a public hearing on June 27th.
Calendar item number 14, motion presented by Councilor Rizzo that the mayor be requested to create a Revere Biosafety Advisory Committee under the jurisdiction of the Board of Health to include the Director of Public Health, City Solicitor, Fire Chief, Police Chief, Inspectional Services Director, and Director of Planning and Community Development. This board would be charged to investigate and evaluate and amend the definition and/or addition of research and development laboratory, life science labs, and related uses in the City of Revere zoning ordinances. Further, that the attached draft ordinance be used as a possible starting point for discussion.
Council Rizzo.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The reason that I submitted this was to address the obvious potential usage of a biolab at Suffolk Downs. The problem I think that we're going to have as a city council going forward is when a vote was taken back in 2018 on the overlay district gave that use, biolab, they gave that use by right. They do not need a special permit from us. So the way, as best I can tell, and through the research that I've done, and I've confirmed this with Frank Stringy and others, the best that I think we can do going forward to control this is going to be through the Board of Health. And now, like I say, this is, you know, I'm not sure. I haven't had a chance to go through what the public hearing is going to be on the motion that was just submitted by Council McKenna and Visconti, but I don't know if that's going to be just going forward, how we're going to work, but with respect to the specific project at Suffolk Downs, they have that usage by right, that overlay district granted them by right to do whatever it is they want as it's currently defined. So I believe going forward, we should potentially set up a board like this that would have some teeth with regards to what's actually being done with that particular usage. So, you know, like I say, there's nothing here that is in concrete at the moment, but I think it's something that the city council should at least research as we're going forward. I don't claim to be a microbiology major or know much about biolabs and life sciences. But I think we need to talk to the right people, and certainly from a community standpoint to protect the interests of our residents and protect the interests of our values that we collectively have as a council on what we'd like to see take place in these biolabs. I think that we need to take a multifaceted approach, whether it be talking about zoning going forward and what we can have and what we have in front of us right now. I know there's been discussions. I wasn't on the city council when discussions took place, I think about a year ago, when they were explaining, the types of uses that would take place there, or the types of experimentation and the like. But we definitely, I think, need to get our hands around this, both short-term and long-term. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. I think we also need to probably consult, obviously, the city solicitor, but also people at the federal and state level as to if a particular company were to work for the government, would that particular research be able to circumvent our laws and specifically our zoning ordinances, as is permitted in other parts of the law, in particular for housing, church, and medical. So the last thing I want to see is for them to be able to research, TB-resistant strains of what have you for whatever company in the pursuit of obviously curing it, but would also cause some issues for the community. And then also the ethical, moral components regarding the use of animals. But that said, I would also be forthright. I think many in the council did not have a clear understanding of what that actual vote entitled. And I think we would have a different sense of acting on it at that point, too. Thank you.
Any further questions? All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 15, motion presented by Councilor Keefe, that the mayor request a representative from CDM Smith and the Chief of Infrastructure to appear before the City Council to provide an update on the consent decree for water and sewer infrastructure.
Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's somewhat self-explanatory, but I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of a back history. I think my good friend Charlie, Councilor Patch, when he was over there, he stood on top of the CDM Smith piece pretty heavily. And we know they do come in front of us and they're doing a lot of great work in the city, but we're about a year and a half, I believe. The end of next year is right around that 10-year mark of the 10-year consent decree. So I'm just looking to get an update from CDM Smith and, of course, Chief of Infrastructure, where we're at the progress we're at. If we have the ability to go back and ask if we can remove ourselves from this consent decree, it'll save the ratepayer, it'll save the city millions of dollars. And hopefully then we can be on our, I guess, the honor system of doing the right thing, because we do know that, many, many moons ago, there wasn't a lot of work done in the water systems and treatment and sewage systems in our city. So we're playing a lot of catch up over the last 9 years, and because we were ordered to. So we want to try and get out of that consent decree, save the ratepayers, citizens millions of dollars, and then continue to do the work that's needed, that we see as needed. So that's the updates we're hoping to get. I'd like to have them come before the council. Simple as that. Thank you.
All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 16, motion presented by Council President Visconti that the City Council award a certificate of appreciation to the Revere Chamber of Commerce.
I'm going to just reserve my rights to speak in my comments, I should say, my comments for the June 6th presentation. Thank you. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 17, motion presented by Councilors Cogliandro and Silvestri that the City Council draft an ordinance that will deduct a percentage of a City Councilor's salary when absent from a regular meeting or a subcommittee meeting.
Councilor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I filed this because I just want to go over some statistics. And first I want to say that there are reasons why people shouldn't be at these meetings. Totally understandable. We've had 19 subcommittees, and we've had 2 of them full. We've had now 11 council meetings, and we've only had every councilor at 4 of them. This is a job we're paid to do, and I feel like we owe it to the people to come here and conduct our business. I understand that this job reaches beyond these chambers to phone calls, emails, site visits. I get it, but this is what we're paid to do. So I just feel like it's a disservice to the people when we aren't able to come here and conduct it. Or, and I'll just bring up one other thing. There was a subcommittee we didn't even have a quorum. That's bad. So hopefully we can, obviously I'm looking forward to some more discussion on this. Hopefully we can put it into subcommittee, but I'm sure Councilor Silvestri has some remarks as well.
Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Councilor. And this is a motion I have been passionate about since I was elected back in November, and I think a bunch of my colleagues can attest that I've been speaking to them on that. It's not aimed at anyone personally, but I echo Councilor Cogliandro's feelings. We are elected. We're here to represent the people of Revere, and it's our duty. We have less than 24 meetings in a year as council meetings, and I think that unless a family member's death, someone is very ill, an emergency comes up, we all have that happen, but we need to do better at being here 100% of the time as elected officials in this city. We always say we're here to represent the people. Well, then we need to show up to represent the people.
Councilor Serino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I just want to say I commend the Ward 3 councilor, and I thank him for bringing this motion forward. Last year, or 2 years ago now, I actually proposed a motion to ensure that all public meetings, especially of the City Council, begin no earlier than 5 p.m. I had originally requested that when we changed the ordinance, because before we had subcommittee meetings at 5 p.m., there were some times when subcommittee meetings were held at 3:30 p.m., other public meetings, and the residents, you guys, especially those of us who work, would not be able to attend those meetings. And I would like to, I know that this is a specific thing, but I think down the line, we should look at maybe revising that ordinance to go instead of 5 p.m., 6 p.m. because I will admit too, I have a full-time job. This is a part-time job, but I am required to be at work until 5 p.m. That is part of my and most people most of us have full-time jobs. Some of us are retired, some of us have, more flexible schedules, but those of us who work, I don't want to say, but those of us who work until 5 p.m., even a 5 p.m. subcommittee meeting to get from a job in Boston or what have you, back to Revere can sometimes be difficult. And that's why I think having meetings, all meetings of the city council, subcommittee and general meetings begin at 6 p.m. could help to increase that participation and increase attendance. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Maravito.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having poor attendance, whether you're in the private sector or working in the public sector, it's grounds for being written up, termination, especially excessive absence. So I think this motion should be put in place because the people elect us to show up, do our job. And if we don't, there should be consequences, regardless. But one thing we have to look into is whose discretion is this at? Who decides what percentage the pay is docked? Who oversees this? These are questions we need further debate in, but I wholeheartedly agree with the motion.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Rotundo.
We have to be very careful with that, and I'll tell you why. We've had 2 free sitting councilors that actually had passed while in office and had missed numerous months due to illness, operations, cancer, and sepsis, and so forth. One of them that actually I took care of for a period of time. He was a dear friend. So what I can tell you is that ball, like in the public sector, in the private sector, you have FMLA. So how do you measure that when someone has had a heart attack, someone has had to have a knee operation, someone has had to have multiple surgical procedures, someone's had a child? All those things come into play, or someone had cancer. Thank you.
Councilor Rizzo.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And while I get the idea behind the motion, Councilor Rotundo just touched on a few things. You're going to have incidents that are going to be sometimes beyond your control. I'd like to think that if someone is not showing up to the meeting, it's not because they didn't want to come to the meeting. As an example, there was a meeting that I just couldn't go to that was kind of a special meeting. It wasn't on the calendar. We typically are told in advance, next month, that this is the date of the meetings. This meeting was put on and kind of came up after I could not change, my plans. I had requested to be able to Zoom in on the meeting. That was denied. So, but that's okay. I just think that when we're going to craft an ordinance about, at the end of the day, we don't work for each other. We work for the voters. The voters are who put us in office. If the voters think that we're not doing our job, we're probably not going to get elected next time. So I just think that, we need to, if we're going to draft an ordinance and kind of self-govern ourselves and start talking about, financial penalties, then we have to be careful with this because, there are going to be circumstances that will come up that a councilor, for one reason or another, it might not be anticipated even by the makers of the motion right now. They might find themselves in a situation down the road they can't make it. So, I think it's worthy of discussion. I'll vote for it. But, I think at the end of the day, we all have to look at these people sitting out here and the people watching the meeting at home. They're the people that are putting us into office. If we're going to start judging ourselves on attendance, what are we doing? I mean, the public goes out every 2 years to vote for us. I think the public, I give the voters enough credit to understand if we're doing our job or not. That's my stand, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Do you want to, Councilor Silvestri?
Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me the ability to speak on this twice. And I do agree with both my counselors, Rotundo and Rizzo. There are life issues that come up that we do have to take into consideration when missing a meeting. But not for a pat on the back and no other reason. A year ago, I had a planned golf trip for today, paid expenses, hotel with a veterans program, and I canceled that vacation and that trip because I owe it to them same people that they're talking about who put us here every 2 years to show up here and earn my pay. That is it. That is all I'm saying. I'm not looking to police the council in any way, shape, or form, but we do have to hold ourselves accountable and show up for the people. And I think if we ask them same people who are voting on us every 2 years, if they agree on this motion, we would get an overwhelming yes. Thank you.
Okay. This is going to get referred to Legislative Affairs. Thank you. And for further discussion.
Calendar item number 18, motion presented by Councilor Sereno that the Traffic Commission amend Schedule 4 of Title 10 to add 2 stop signs on New Hall Street at the Finley Street intersection in both the northbound and southbound directions.
Councilor Sereno?
Speaks for itself, Mr. President.
We're going to refer that to the Traffic Commission.
Calendar item number 19, motion presented by Councilor Sereno that the City Council adopt the attached resolution recognizing May 2022 as Brain Tumor Awareness Month.
Councilor Sereno.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Madam Clerk, would you mind reading that into the record?
Whereas the National Brain Tumor Society Incorporated recognizes May 2022 as Brain Tumor Awareness Month to raise awareness of this devastating disease. And whereas brain tumors will affect an estimated 88,970 Americans in 2022, over 1,600 people in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts will be diagnosed with a brain tumor this year, of which 600 will be malignant and 380 of whom will die because of a brain tumor without regard for age, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic status. And whereas Massachusetts is home to several major facilities, including the Brain Tumor Center at Massachusetts General Hospital, Brigham and Women's Hospital, and the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, that focus on research to find better treatments for this horrible disease. And whereas malignant brain tumors are among the deadliest forms of cancer and are the leading cause of cancer-related deaths in children under the age of 20. And whereas increasing public awareness of brain tumors through advocacy, support for targeted research and education is critical to supporting patients with brain tumors and their families. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Revere City Council hereby commends the National Brain Tumor Society, Inc. for its recognition of May 2022 as Brain Tumor Awareness Month, and further extends sincere best wishes for continued success in all its future endeavors in raising awareness for this deadly disease. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the National Brain Tumor Society.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. President. If I might, just for 1 second. Brain tumors have been impacting many people, not only in our community, but worldwide. And when I saw that May was Brain Tumor Awareness Month, I couldn't help but think of John T. DeLegro, who is a Ward 6 resident, a local business owner, who battled glioblastoma and passed away. I personally have a relative who, after only a diagnosis of 90 days, passed away from glioblastoma. And, these are folks who, they had headaches or all of a sudden mood changes and whatnot, and it turned out to be brain tumors, and, they've lost their lives. So just paying tribute and raising awareness of brain tumors. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Rizzo.
Just very briefly, I think this is an excellent motion. I want to commend Councilor Sereno for it. And of course, we recognize John T. DeLegro with a moment of silence in the City Council, sadly, not too long ago. But we also, from a historical perspective, we lost a city councilor to a brain tumor many, many years ago. Actually predates me, George Caporale. George passed away in his 30s. So it is definitely something that hopefully medical research and development will find a way to treat and potentially cure this awful illness going forward. So excellent motion, Councilor Sereno. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
All in favor, all opposed? So ordered. Next motion.
Calendar item number 20, motion presented by Councilor Cogliandro, that the mayor request MassDOT, the Traffic Commission, and the DPW to investigate the feasibility of installing traffic lights in the intersection of Mountain Avenue and Broadway.
Councilor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've received a lot of complaints about that intersection. I believe just about every four-way stop we have on Broadway has a set of lights. Malden Street, Revere Street, Broadway, Cushman Ave, School Street, that area. Yes, Councilor Keefe, Fenno and Beach. But I just want to look into see if it's something that we can do. If anyone's ever tried to get onto Broadway when there's traffic off of Mountain Ave, it's a nightmare. So thank you. So hopefully we can do something, we can look into that. Thank you.
Councilor Rotundo, sorry.
Thank you. In particular, that street is very much needed, considering that you have the confluence of traffic coming from the Hill School as well as the high school, and then also coming back from the various schools in West Revere. So that's definitely needed. Thank you.
Councilor Rizzo. I mean, Councilor
Councilor
Keefe.
Keefe. Thank you.
Sorry.
We're both handsome.
If you wish.
I just wanted to, and I think that Councilor Cogliandro has a couple good motions that have some speed and some traffic impacts that will be helpful, or could be helpful, but wanted to remind everyone that we're in the middle of the signalization project on Broadway that starts as you enter from Chelsea, and it goes to the 7 intersections throughout. Those have, you're seeing the sidewalk work being done, you're seeing the new signals being put up. Those have not come into play yet. I think the hopes is we'll see some traffic reduction, we'll see some better intersection, we'll see more coordinated crosswalks throughout the entire corridor. And I guess if those don't solve the problem, then we're going to have to take some more drastic measures. But just wanted to make sure that the residents know that that is a project that's a little bit, it's probably about 3/4 of the way done, and we'll hope to see the signalization change soon, and we can probably get an update from our internal staff to let us know, but that's in process. Thank you.
Councilor Morabito.
I think something to point out is not only is the putting traffic lights in that intersection going to help traffic, but it's also going to prevent a dangerous situation from occurring because there are no crosswalks in that area. So having a traffic light in that intersection could potentially help provide safety to kids crossing, especially where it's so close to a school zone.
Okay. If there's no further questions, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 21, motion presented by Councilor Cogliandro, that the mayor request the DPW and Traffic Commission to look into the feasibility of installing speed bumps on Cushman Avenue, Proctor Ave, and Mountain Ave. The amount of speeding in these areas has heavily increased. The residents in the area are scared someone is going to get killed. This has been an ongoing issue.
Councilor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. President. This idea was brought up to me roughly 3 months ago, and I denied it. I didn't think an idea of having speed bumps on side streets was a good idea. I asked for the mayor to direct the chief to increase patrols, and they did. They have increased patrols. They're doing a great job. But for some reason, these 3 streets are being used as a speedway. I almost had a friend of mine get killed the other day. I think a child got hit the other day. So this is just an idea, temporary speed bumps. And I'm looking forward to the discussion about it. Thank you.
Councilor Sereno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't want to take away or diminish from Councilor Cogliandro's motion, so I'm not going to ask to amend it, but I would just say, generally speaking, I know for some reason, they always tell us because of either, fire apparatus or snow plows, the city doesn't use speed bumps on public ways. And quite frankly, I think it's time that we readdress that, because other communities, you can't tell me that Melrose doesn't, have their Cambridge, Melrose, Malden, Everett, all these communities around us do have speed bumps and their roads get plowed. So I think the speeding in this city is out of control. I don't know, I know Boston drivers, we have a bad reputation as it is, but Revere people are insane on the roads. It's truly, it's beyond time. And I know, the patrols, they help, but speed bumps will really, send a clear message. And Councilor Cogliandro, thank you for bringing this up, but I just think it's time in general we have speed bumps on public ways.
Council Maravito.
Through you, Mr. President, to the maker of the motion, would it be best to have speed humps instead of speed bumps?
At this point, anything that would be a legitimate deterrent to people speeding. Speed bumps, speed humps, whatever you want to call them.
Because speed humps gradually, so when you're driving across the road, they gradually go up. So they slow down the vehicle from speeding, but at the same time, it doesn't do the damage on the car, and it doesn't impact the plows as well, the streets, so the plows don't hit them because they're not as deep.
Through you, Mr. President, just a thought. If these were temporary speed bumps, that might be a little bit different. That way we could remove them in a snowstorm, or that's another thought that I had. But the speed humps are a good idea. I just don't know which one is a better option, honestly.
Okay. Council Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Perhaps we could contact the local municipalities that have experience with these particular apparatuses and see what would best fit Revere. Also, potholes would be something that we should also be taking care of in this process. Hearing it from friends, family, and my children, I think potholes need to be addressed as well. Thank you.
Councilor Keith.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Rotundo, we use potholes as speed-reducing measures for the city.
Only on Fennel Street.
Only
They're
on
doing an
Fennel
excellent
Street.
job.
No.
Remember, you were just confused for Rizzo over here, so.
Just to, the other recommendation, speed humps bumps, is the raised crosswalks, which I know that I've proposed a number of times, and I think I'm getting closer to the one at the Hill School that I said could be the pilot program. Between the raised crosswalks, I think would do a really great job in some of the areas that Councilor Cogliandro is referring. Thank you.
All in favor, all opposed? So ordered. Come to the podium.
My name is Mike Slacks. I'm from 1 Beach Street. All this traffic and all this congestion, but we keep building more and more. We get 10,000 more units coming in, right? And the roads are getting thinner. Ocean Ave, they've thinned it down, and other roads are thinning down. So you're giving us less room to drive and bringing in more and more people. So,
Through you, Mr. President.
Councilor Rotundo.
I think a lot of that traffic is coming from outside the city, and when you increase more with more construction, we're going to have that issue. So we'll address it the best we can.
Okay. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 22, motion presented by Council President Visconti that the Traffic Commission amend Schedule 4 of Title 10, isolated stop signs of the City of Revere, Tedford Avenue at Burnett Road and Tedford Avenue at Glover Drive for southbound and northbound traffic traveling on Tedford Ave.
This speaks for itself, but it's another reason for the cars that are traveling around that area. I've gotten some calls about the speeding in that area, so we're going to refer this to Traffic Commission as well. All right, refer it to traffic. Before we conclude the meeting, Council Silvestri would like a moment of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we know, Memorial Day is coming up on Monday. We are actually this year having our Memorial Day ceremony on Saturday, May 28th at 10 a.m. out here at the American Legion. Everyone knows what Memorial Day is about, to honor our fallen in service, and I hope you can all attend and make it. It gives us the ability to honor men like Mr. John McCork, Mr. Charles McMacken, gentlemen that gave their lives in dedication to the city and country, and I hope you all can make it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President
Yes.
and women, thank you.
Oh. Okay, this concludes the May 23rd City Council meeting. Meeting adjourned.